You good? All right. Here we go. Speed. 3, 2, 1. It's time for the Mission Story Slam podcast, brought to you by PWP Video. I'm Michael Schweisheimer. I'm the executive producer at PWP Video, Mission Story Slam, and I'm a proud cat parent to Scout and Bandit. We are recording this episode of the pod on Thursday, November 13th. So that's the day before our media sponsor, the Philadelphia Citizen, is holding their big festival, Ideas We Should Steal. And we are just 5 short days away from Mission Story Slam 13. We're very proud to have been invited to be a part of Generosity's Philanthropy Week, and we're using their theme of Braver Today. There is so much to do in this world, and it is more fun when we say yes to great opportunities. And today's guest, Deian McBryde's story was all about saying yes in life. So let's listen to that story to start out.
My name is Deian McBryde. I'm a brand new Philadelphian. Thank you. I bought my apartment last year over FaceTime. So if you are an age-appropriate gentleman, I will probably marry you with just a photograph, as long as you're a fixer-upper. So I want to talk tonight about best friends. Do you have one? Yeah. Mine, Eric. Smart, funny, generous, gregarious, sassy, and dead. Eric died March 31st, 1992 of HIV/AIDS. And I think about him every day. We met when we were very young men in the Air Force. And an early memory was us watching some female lieutenant. We called them lady lieutenants back then. So a female lieutenant walking down the hallway with her heels click, click, clicking on the floor. And so the sound of determination for us became click, 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 click. Right? And which evolved into, if you're angry, sort of boom, 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 boom. And then, you know, my feet are booming, my lips are getting little, my eyes are winking, whatever. We just sort of would manifest all these physical descriptions to describe how irritated we were. And then we'd laugh. I don't know why it was funny. It's what we did. We like to make fun of people, I think. Eric called me one day from work. He was very irritated at what had happened at work that day, and he's ranting about it. And I said, you know, sweetie, you just got to remember, people are stupid. And he said, yeah, I should write that down, right? So as Eric got sicker, I wanted to go and see him. I really did, but money was tight, and my partner didn't think it was a good idea, and couldn't get time off work. So we would talk on the phone, and I'd tell him, I want to come see you. I'm going to come as soon as I can. I'm going to come and see you. But I didn't. And he died. And I get the call that he died. And voila, time off work. And we found the money for me to go for a funeral. At the funeral, I sing, pretty sure it was Wind Beneath My Wings. Kind of on point. And his family was very, very excited to share Eric's diary of deep thoughts, but Eric really wasn't a deep thinker. That wasn't on the list of things that I said. So there were 4 entries in his diary. One of them had only 3 words. People are stupid. Well, he wrote it down. And at a little memorial party, people were sharing stories, and his partner, Bob, who's also dead, he told a story about Eric's dementia. And as it got worse, he would say, sweetie, you know what I'm getting you for Christmas this year? And Eric would say, what? And Bob would say, same thing I got you last year. Bitch. I learned a lot of things about my friend that night. I learned, for example, that when I would come to town, he would cancel all of his other friends, and he would just block that time off just for me. And they would say, why don't we get to meet Deian? Why don't we get to hang out with Deian? And he'd say, Deian's my friend. I want him to myself. I'll see you in a few days. I'd never had anybody love me like that before. I'd never had anyone tell me that I was number one, that I was the most special before. Other stories his friends told were some of the crazy things he did, again, as he was getting close to death, and he was making things up. He was having all kinds of fantasies happening. And one of the big ones was he would say over and over again, Deian's coming to see me. He said it a lot, but I didn't go. I got distracted. I got distracted by my relationship and my job and my money, and I didn't go. So, a story they say in the rules, thanks for the warning that we shouldn't be too on point, but here are all the rules, okay? So they say in the rules, the story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. So in my story, the beginning was two young guys meet in the military, they drink too much, they have a really long friendship, and one of them dies. But just because that's the ending of that story doesn't mean it has to be the ending of the story, right? My takeaway, my mission of that is that I cannot be distracted from the things that I must do, that I want to do, that I need to do, that I must say yes. I must say yes to what's right in front of me, to what is right now. We all have a story. We all know what the beginning was, and we all already know there will be an end. But how do you feel the middle? How do you create the story? Say yes. Life is happening now. Your life is now. The time is now. Live your life, bitch. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. That's a lot to listen to, isn't it?
That's a pretty good story, I have to say.
It's a beautiful story.
It surprises me to hear back and try to step into that moment of wanting so much to communicate, wanting to follow the rules, and really wanting to share this very important relationship in my life that also affected my entire outlook of how I was going to live every day since then.
It's over 30 years ago now, isn't it, that you lost
It is.
her?
Can I show you? I know this is audio, so we'll have to describe it. But this is a photograph of Eric and me.
Oh my God.
Just before he left for Korea, and then he got sick after that.
I was going to say, we have to describe it, and you're going to have to take a photo of the photo so that we can put it on the episode webpage, because it's amazing. So go ahead and describe it.
Well, it's an old-timey photo of the two of us dressed as barmaids. And
I think you look a little looser than just barmaids in that photo, my friend.
Well, the side hustle was being a barmaid.
Okay, there you go.
And Eric and I were in New Orleans. He was about to leave for Korea. It must have been 1984, 1985, so a long time ago. And we saw this old-time photograph place. And I said, we should do that. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm shy, and he had his own awkwardnesses. And I said, oh, come on, let's do it. We can be cowboys. So he agreed after another cocktail, he agreed to be a cowboy with me. So we went in and we got online and we started being cowboys, and we were looking around. But then we noticed, the girls going up, and they would have a boa and they would have a thing. And I'd say, oh, that'd be funny. What if we were a cowboy with boas? He'd be, oh, that would be funny. And then what if we were cowboys and we also had a satin shawl? And what if we were... And it just continued till we got to the front of the line, and...
You were just in drag. Yeah, I love it. So good. So funny. I got to tell you, a lot of times people feel compelled that they must say the theme in their story, and it isn't required. But man, if you're going to do it, you really nailed it.
Thank you. I've always been a rule follower. I've had a kind of a crazy, amazing life. I told your team, I'm not 100% sure why Michael wants to talk to me, but I'm happy to do it because I'm going to say yes, right? But I often feel like I'm not a very special person. I'm kind of boring. But I've had this amazing life, mostly based on saying yes to things. But my whole life I've been a rule follower. I celebrate birthdays on the birthday because that is the rule. I was up late last night doing a legal filing that had to be in, and they rejected my filing. I had to resubmit it, but the way they rejected it, they wanted me to not follow the rules. So I had to have a little conversation about that. So I'm very much a rule follower. So in getting ready for your event, I felt really inspired by the rules and also by the theme. I can't believe I'm the only one, but I think that for me, it is often nice to have a container for my creativity.
Yeah, sure. You're not the only one.
And to be able to say, I can do anything I want to. Let me keep it inside of this space. And suddenly, you don't have to be a very bright bulb to make a small room look lit up, right? You don't have to be that spectacular if you create some parameters for yourself and you decide to fill the space that you have. I think so often it's easy to try and fill every space with light. And maybe we don't have that much light to give, I don't know. But I know that I feel like I have limited ability and limited light. So I want to try to define that space, define this life, define my relationships so that they can be fulfilling to me, but I can be fulfilling to them. And so I really thought in terms of appearing at your event, I wanted to fulfill the event.
Well, you did. By the way, before I forget, you ended up having your name drawn first, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, that was really not a happy thing for me.
Listen, whoever goes first, that is the toughest spot, no matter how we can't eliminate it. I always tell a host story first to try to soften things, but you did it. You really kicked butt for being in that first spot. But I want to completely contradict you for just a moment, because you're saying that you're not that bright a light or not that unique. I want to shout out Carrie Gonzalez, who's the administrative manager at PWP. You talked about telling my team your story. And Carrie's the one that brought you or told you about the Story Slam, right?
Right.
So I asked Carrie, because I really didn't know you until you came to the Story Slam. I didn't know you were a creature on our planet. So I needed some information to be able to talk to you today. So I was like, could you get a little biographical stuff from Deian for me? And so I'm just going to read what Carrie wrote down from speaking to you.
Okay.
Deian McBryde is a speaker, storyteller, confidant, lawyer, and judge who used to be an Apple trainer, who was an organizational behavioralist, who taught yoga, meditation, and subcontinental chanting across the country, who sang in New York lounges and across Europe, Australia, and Russia, who won 2 Fringe Festival Awards and 2 Green Room Awards in Australia, who recorded 6 albums, who had backup dancers, who was a young life insurance company executive that started as a typist, who received an Air Force Commendation Medal for tracking nuclear missiles, who got accepted at Carnegie Mellon, but his father refused to sign the student loan forms, who was the first boy allowed to be his high school mascot, who taught himself the viola to get a gig in the 7th grade, who didn't graduate college until 48 or law school until 53, and who moved to Philadelphia sometime between May 2024 and October of 2025. So I'm just going to say, I think you might be slightly more interesting than you're letting on. Because I have a lot of questions, so many questions.
Thanks. I'm glad you do. And if I can be interesting to somebody else, it's great. I just feel like I feel very ordinary. I'm happy eating the same sandwich every day. I just find myself in these places where something crazy is about to happen and I get to bear witness to it.
Or maybe participate.
I don't know that I feel like I get to be interesting because I was at the interesting thing, but something interesting happened and I was 100%
You were definitely
there, for sure.
I think you were there somehow quite often. So many questions from that. I love that list. I love the randomness of the order. It goes backwards and forwards. It's great. How in the hell does someone move for 18 months? How are you unsure when you moved here? How does that happen? And where did you move here from?
Well, all of my stories, Michael, are going to be the James Michener answer to whatever. So it all starts with, Pangea. And just that's how it goes.
Can we just all settle that there are multiple continents now and there was continental drift and science is a thing?
I 100% agree with that. Let me tell you how that happened.
Let's skip ahead.
So I grew up in Albuquerque. I went into the military. I was stationed in Denver. I was stationed in Florida. Traveled a little bit with the Air Force doing some entertainment. Came back to Albuquerque. Had to move to New York City. Stayed there for 15 years. Came back to Albuquerque. And then a couple years ago, started this Philadelphia conversation. So about 4 years ago, I wish I could remember this woman who blessed me in such a great way. I've had a couple of mysterious older women who wandered into my life, said one thing and changed the trajectory of everything. She said, where you live, where you're 60, that's where you're gonna die.
Oh my God.
And I just had this instant visceral feeling, like when somebody reads you your horoscope, and even though you're 1/12 of the population, and surely not a 12th of the population is having what happens that day, but it feels like, oh my God, you're so right. So I had this visceral feeling wash over me that I just couldn't die in Albuquerque. I love it. It's my hometown. It's beautiful. I have so many friends there. The mountains, the skies, but I'm alone there. I don't have a partner. I don't have much family. And I thought, what does my story look like closer to the end? And how do I want that in-between time to go? So I went through a journey of saying, I'm ready to inhabit a different space and to see how that light shines there. And so I decided I wanted to live in a bigger city. So I started looking around at cities. And then I came to Philadelphia for a legal training in 2023. Stayed a week for that. Then I came back in 2024 for a couple of weeks. A friend introduced me to a realtor. I just ended up buying an apartment and I didn't have a job. I didn't know anybody. I don't know what I was doing. It's crazy. But it was a great deal. I was really happy about it. So I bought this apartment. I closed in May of 2024. Mm-hmm. However, just prior to then, between the time that I was here in March and looking at apartments and the time I went to contract in April, a judge in the family court in New Mexico decided to retire, and I wanted that job.
Oh.
So I ended up in a 7-month odyssey trying to become a state court judge in New Mexico. So my apartment here sat pretty empty.
Yeah, I would think.
I had to take floors out because it was asbestos, and I bought an air mattress, but I would be here. So every 2 weeks to a month, I would just fly to Philadelphia and spend 2 weeks to 4 weeks here. Then I'd go back to New Mexico, and I went back and forth from May of 2024 until my renovation was done. Okay. I just brought my stuff from New Mexico in October, so I'm not 100% sure when to pin my date as a Philadelphian, but
that's fine.
Sort of like a relationship. Is it the day we met? Is it the day we linked up? Is it the day that you said I do? So I'm not sure when my romance with Philadelphia is official, but anyway, I know where to get a cheesesteak. That's what I know.
I can't speak for all of Philadelphia because I'm not a native. I moved here from Chicago in the late 90s. So I've now been here over half my life. And here's what I can tell you. Now that I have exceeded half of my life, I am no longer new. Welcome to Philadelphia.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah. Knowing where to get a good cheesesteak, that barely scratches the surface of moving to this town. It's a great city, but it's a tough town in some ways in terms of feeling. And I think you will melt hearts very quickly, but it's very interesting. It's not like friends are hard to come by here. They're actually wonderful. But the overall city takes a minute to melt to you. That's all I can say. You have to learn to speak Philadelphian.
Right. Well, everyone here has been very kind since the beginning.
Oh, well, then you haven't left your apartment.
Maybe that'll change. Maybe the more Philadelphia I get, the more Philadelphia they'll get. It's hard to say. But it's been good. And I see Philadelphia has a lot of problems, of course. But I don't know. There is just something great about having human collision be so accessible. Somebody, if they just have to step out of your way, that's a very human experience that you don't get just driving. When you're driving and you're in your little bubble and you're going from a place and to a place and you're not experiencing the in-between space at all, I think that can dial down a little bit of our humanity. You may not like the person that you see in the park. You might wish they weren't there, but they are there. And so that's not a bench you get to sit on today. So your choices are going to be fully informed by what another human being is doing. And I love that. Of course, I love Center City. I feel very fortunate that I get to see Philadelphia from this spot, which is fairly magnificent.
That's cool. And don't get me wrong. I really love this town and it's full of amazing people. It has an edge to it that is really interesting. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Chicago, where we're very nice. And when I go home and someone says hi to me on the street that I don't know, I check for where my wallet is. It's just a different vibe. One of my really good friends who grew up in Philly found a shirt that I think more than one person has in this town, but it says, "I'm not angry. I'm from Philadelphia." So it's pretty good. So, but under that exterior veneer of edge is a lot of love for the city, and it is a really great place to be. And I'm really glad that you're here. So
I had an experience with my contractor. I think he thought I was doing the apartment as a flip and I wasn't going to move here.
Okay.
And at one point I said, well, I really want that because when I'm here, I want blah, blah, blah. And he's like, wait, you're going to live here? I said, yeah, this is my house. I'm going to live here. And his whole countenance changed. He said, oh, we got to get this right then.
Yeah. And that kind of, in some ways, it's that there's some unspoken stuff in this town that I think if your contractor thinks you're just going to come in, buy something and flip it, you're not part of town. But once you're going to live here, you can become part of Philly. So it's a place that will have that edge. But once it knows that you're embracing it, it will embrace you back. It's a cool town. I got to ask you something. In that list that I read that Carrie had shared with me, it did say judge, and you just said that you did not get the judge spot. So help me understand how you are both judge and not judge.
Yeah, I'm making little Zen hands right now. I'm judge and not judge. I am an appointed tribal court judge for Native American courts.
Oh.
So I sit as a judge pro tempore, which means from time to time, the Native American tribes, nations, they are sovereign. Many of them have established their own court system. And so they need lawyers and they need judges. And it's great if it comes from the community, but sometimes those resources aren't available. So they'll invite an outsider to come and sit as judge. And so I got very fortunate just before my 5th anniversary as a lawyer. So you mentioned I graduated law school at 53. So I got invited to be a judge pro tempore for a tribe in Arizona. And I still sit on that court. I'm responsible for high conflict and complex family law cases primarily.
Wow. Okay.
But I do fill in for the judge, so I can do all sorts of things. So it's pretty surprising when family law is a very specific and general sort of thing all at the same time. Like you really got to know it, but it's not like anything else that people will do. So I am judge and I am not judge.
Got it.
I'm actually happy. I couldn't leave New Mexico until I knew if I got that. And I really needed to try. It taught me a lot going through it. I think people should apply for things even if you're not sure that you're right for it. Because I didn't get the job and there were politics involved and lots of it was awful. On one level, it was a terrible experience trying to become a family court judge in New Mexico.
Okay.
But on the other hand, you're allowed to have people come and speak on your behalf before this appointment commission.
Cool.
13 people came and spoke on my behalf. They said they'd never had that many people come and speak for any other candidate before. And the things they said were so lovely, so amazing, so kind and generous. The letters people wrote on my behalf, the judges all up and down our judicial system who helped me prepare for the interview. I mean, what a gift of intellect and time.
Oh, yeah.
And so what do I know? I know I'm not a judge. Like that could be the takeaway. I tried for something, I didn't get it, I'm not a judge. But the takeaway I choose to have is that a couple dozen people were very invested in me and wanted me to succeed and be great and were thrilled for me and worried for me and loved me. So being able to say yes to trying and then recognizing that what you're really getting is the journey, not the destination, just to sound like my own calendar. That's this whole thing about yes, Michael, right? If you're saying yes, you're not making a contract with the universe to get what you want. You're getting a contract with the universe to try.
Or to show up, or to be present.
You're getting an agreement with the universe to have an adventure. And so that's what happened.
That list makes it clear you've had many adventures, for sure. So my brain's connecting a couple things. I'm going to guess there's a story of what led you to yes, to return to college studies and then to go on to law school.
Oh.
Was it a random old lady?
No, it's not. But I by the end of this podcast, I'm going to have you and your listeners convinced that I'm not that interesting. I just stumble into things. It's crazy. So I was in my late 40s and I had a lifetime of helping my partners do things. I had a partner whose father was a dentist, but for some reason I paid to have his teeth fixed. I've had a partner who almost lost, his home and we had to save it. And I just felt like I've just been saving people. And so my last partner and I broke up in my late 40s and I was devastated because I thought this was the forever person. But as I looked around, I thought, well, I don't have any family and I don't have children and I don't have a partner and I don't even have a degree. And anytime I change jobs, I have to start at the bottom. I have to start at the beginning because I don't have any credentials. So I decided that I would go back to school. So I wandered into the University of New Mexico, and they took a look at all my 30 years of transcripts, and I guess they were feeling particularly generous. They said, you should just do this. You're a senior. So nice. I grabbed my advisor's bowl of candy, and I went around the office, and I just thanked them on behalf of the senior class for all of their hard work. And so I finished my undergrad, and I thought that was it. And then I thought, well, I should do another thing. So I really wanted to become a therapist. That was really what I wanted to do. And so
so that's how you became a lawyer. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they're completely parallel careers.
I enrolled in little therapy school to become a little therapist, and I would negotiating the terms of my acceptance, which included that my email address had to be Deian at the college name. Like, it couldn't be something with dots and then numbers. I was very insistent. So they went through a lot of hoops to give me my email address. And sometimes I just outgame myself. I don't even know where it comes from, but there it is. That was all happening, and a friend took me to dinner, and he said, if you become a therapist, you're going to make about the same money you're making at Apple. I think you should become a lawyer. And I said, I'm too old and I'm not smart enough to become a lawyer. And he said, I think you're plenty smart. You're one of the smartest people I know. And here's a friend of mine who, he went back when he was a therapist. He went to be a lawyer. He's doing great. And then he was a little relentless. So I finally just signed up for the LSAT. And then along with doing that, you just apply to a school. So I applied to my local law school, who apparently does holistic admissions. And then I got an email that said, congratulations, you're in the class of 2015. I said, I guess I'm going to law school. So I think people can go to law school for lots of reasons. You can be a legacy person. My dad did it. That's what I did. You can certainly go to law school if you have a passion for people and the Constitution and justice. But it's also okay to make a change because you're working retail, you're broke, you're old, you're single, and you need a career. And so that's the path that I took. But man, I didn't expect how many great things would flow from this decision of I want a career and I'd like to make a more stable income. Mm-hmm. I just stumbled into it, and then I went to law school, and I wasn't a great law student because it's the worst job training ever. They don't teach you really. I tell people learning to be a lawyer at law school is like learning to be an accountant by reading dead people's taxes. It's not a great way to study. No one is doing the paper chase Socratic method, I'm not a fan of the process, but man, I love the job. So it's been great.
And I haven't heard a good paper chase reference in a while.
Yeah, well, I'm that generation, right? I went to law school expecting to have John Houseman ask me Socratic questions. I was prepared. Instead, I got a lot of, Mr. McBryde, please recite the facts of the case. And then I'd start and say, I'll just take it from here. And then they just teach it. I'd like, I would like some Socratic teaching. So I got about 3 professors who are pretty good at Socratic stuff. And I also love that because that's Apple's way of teaching. So I was an Apple trainer.
Okay.
And Apple's way of teaching is called lead learning out. It's, you sort of think that people know the answer inside of themselves, and your job is to help them find it. So the number of lawyers who've been surprised that I don't start my intakes with clients by telling them my biography, but instead saying, so tell me what you had in mind today. How do you think I can help you? What are your top 3 questions?
You did sign up to be a therapist, so that kind of makes sense,
Yeah. I like that part of the job a lot.
Back on the college thing for 1 second. Did you ever end up at any time stepping foot onto the Carnegie Mellon campus or going there at all, or did that just never happen?
It never happened. My dad and I had a really complicated, it wasn't that complicated. He didn't like me and I didn't really like him. So I guess it's not super complicated, but he's passed away. And so that was complicated. There's lots of stuff. So I don't want to over minimize it, but at the end of the day, I also don't want to Sturm und Drang it out to death. It was what it was. But, I got accepted to study music at Carnegie Mellon. I was a little kid in Albuquerque, very lower middle class family. It felt huge, and wasn't given any scholarships. So they just said, yes, you can come. And so I asked my dad to help me go, and my dad said no. And it was at a time you had to be 21 to sign your own student loan forms.
Okay.
So my dad just said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I didn't know what else to do. So I went into the Air Force instead. And I have never stepped foot on the campus of Carnegie Mellon. Okay. I was driving through Pittsburgh recently, and I thought, I should go there. But it didn't really happen because I had a car full of stuff.
Yeah. And then what are you going to do? Be like, Hello, college I never went to.
I would probably, me knowing me, I would get a bunch of people together and I would start some sort of a Carnegie Mellon alternative cheer squad, and then whatever, we'd be building pyramids on the front lawn, and I don't know, I'd probably get something going because that's what I do.
Yeah, or maybe you'd have the first not actually an alumni group or something like that. You know, who knows?
The woulda, coulda, shoulda.
So listen, I told you I had a lot of questions from that list.
Sorry if I'm distracting you.
No, it's all very distracting. Can you even tell us about this tracking of nuclear missiles part? I'm assuming that was during the Air Force.
Yeah, well, there was a Soviet Union, so there was stuff like that. I don't think I can really say an awful lot about it other than that was just my job. I tracked missiles and space junk. And
space junk?
We already know, like, the space is full of junk, and somebody's got to know where that stuff is. And hopefully we know where that stuff is. That would be great.
I do know it's a thing, but there's a lot of satellites up there now, so I think there's more junk than ever to track. So I'm sure someone's very busy. So with all of this other stuff, how in the hell did you fit in a music career? So I think I picked up from what you were saying that this was during your time in the Air Force. You were tracking missiles, space junk, and singing in lounges. Is that what I'm getting?
Well, it's all a blur, Michael.
It's getting blurry for me too.
I hope this is interesting when it all comes out.
It's interesting right now.
So I sang as a kid. I played violin and viola, and I was in choirs, and I did all that stuff. Always wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a dancer on the Carol Burnett show. And then after the Air Force, I was just living in Albuquerque and working, and I felt really unfulfilled. So I just decided I was going to move to New York. So I packed up all my stuff, and I landed in New York City, and I lived there for 15 years. I joined an a cappella group. We did street singing. Rudy Giuliani kicked us off the streets, and
shocking.
I started a little singing group. Then I started performing on my own. My very first solo show was in Brooklyn on the Saturday Night Live light up dance floor. So I had the guy light it up for me. So
that's
my
cool.
Very first show.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I was never rich, famous, or powerful.
But you had backup singers.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that. I'm not a natural I love it, but I'm not a natural dancer. Somewhere in my computer world, there's still a video of me with my two backup dancers, and it's pretty spectacular to watch.
Oh, I bet.
I did it when I could do it. My dad once got mad at me because I traveled over Europe for 3 months. He said, "You don't have the money to do it." I said, "Well, I want to see Europe from my rollerblades. I don't want to see it from a tour bus with my cataract glasses." That was my retort. Anyway, I did it. I had backup dancers, and we did it. I have a video that proves it, and every once in a while I'll watch it. And just like watching the video you showed a little bit ago, Michael, I just can't believe that's me. My mother also used to say, I called her one day and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, I'm watching your ghost." I said, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, I'm watching this video of you singing when you were in the military and you're just on the stage." And I said, "Well, why are you saying it's my ghost?" And she said, "Well, it's everything you were at that moment."
Oh, that's cool.
And so when I look at the picture of Eric and me,
mm-hmm.
I get to not only visit his ghost, but I get to visit my ghost. I get to remember the guy who talked my friend into being a cowboy.
I will say, when I was putting my questions together, I was thinking the nukes and singing in Russia. I was wondering if those things were happening at the same time. I was going to ask you if your backup dancers were spies.
That's a good question. No, they were just Broadway gays. Because, when I was in the Air Force, there was no traveling to the Soviet Union.
I was like, how did you end up in Russia? Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Russia in 2000 or something like that. I was leading a gay musicians organization in New York City called Out Music, and we had a member who was in Moscow. I went to Moscow for a month, and while I was there, he knew somebody in St. Petersburg, and so they sent me up to sing jazz at a hookah bar in St. Petersburg. And I'm the last year of the baby boom, right? And so I grew up with Mutually Assured Destruction and Leonid Brezhnev and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty head trippy, and the Soviet Union being a place we could never go, that was always going to be off limits, like North Korea now. And to find myself in Red Square at Lenin's tomb, walking through, seeing the body or the wax figure or whatever
the hell they've got
it's supposed to be, I remember thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm actually here in Moscow at Red Square, staying with friends, and at Lenin's tomb, a place that I never thought
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Not exactly high on the list of things one expects to do, particularly coming from the Air Force. Yeah. And also, I have to say, I'm impressed, or just have to think about the idea of being an out musician in Soviet Russia, thinking about Putin's Russia. It is not a safe place to even consider being openly out, I would think. It's going to be very difficult.
This was not Putin's Russia yet. So there were gay bars,
Yeah. I wondered, are you still in touch with your friend from Russia?
I am not in touch with that friend from Russia. And then there were a couple of other people I knew from Russia, and we lost touch in the last couple of years. Sometimes the Russians are allowed to be on social media, and sometimes they're not allowed to be on social media. So there have been times that there's been like blank spaces in that contact.
I don't want to get through this podcast without really intentionally talking a little bit about Eric. I know you said in your story that you think about him every day. And I'm just wondering what's a recent time that Eric's come into your thoughts? Was there something that you'd like to tell us about Eric besides the cowboy and other things that we've learned?
Well, Eric is on my mind a lot because I often think that if he had lived to be my age, he would have been magnificent. And so I can be a little rough on myself and a little self-deprecating.
Just a little.
But I am not that magnificent. But I have the good fortune of knowing somebody who fully inhabited his life for as long as he had it. And he inhabited his friendships, and all the things that he was going to do, he did. And so I often think when I'm feeling that I cannot accomplish a thing, I'm not the right one, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not interesting enough, I'm not whatever it might be enough, I just think, well, I'm the one who's here. I have to show up because Eric can't show up. And it doesn't have to be a real person. You could have a little imaginary friend that you think is going to make the world better, but that person's not going to show up. You have to show up. Mission Slam, that story would not have been told. I had to show up.
Yeah.
So when I think about Eric, I think a few things. One is I have to show up because Eric would have shown up and he would have brought so much more, but I'm going to bring what I've got. The other thing that I think about often is because I am on my own. I don't have family. I don't have children. I don't have a partner. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in Philadelphia. I don't have a lot of friends, and I don't have a job here. So I work remotely in New Mexico. I'm alone here a lot. But Eric is with me, and he reminds me that I am not only capable of loving, but I am capable of being loved. And that whether anyone is there to do it or not, it doesn't change that I'm still there and showing up for these relationships and still showing up for that moment. So that's also super helpful. Sometimes I just say things that Eric and I would say, even though it's been 40 years, We used to make fun of a friend of his who had a mother who was quite old and quite sick, so only young people can make fun of old and sick people. You can't really get away with it after a while, but I guess she would call out and say her son's name was Carrie, and she'd go, Carrie, get me a glass of water and a cigarette.
It sounds like she really needs a cigarette.
I'll still walk around my apartment every once in a while. I'll say like, Carrie, get me a cigarette. And when that happens, you just feel that rush of love and laughter and a shared experience that you'll never have with anyone else.
I want us to land the plane. I have to ask one question. One of the fun things that happens at Mission Story Slam, I think, is after someone tells a story, I know there's often interaction in the audience, like people coming up and sharing an appreciation or sharing something that they took away from that. So I'm curious if anyone had any comments or if any age-appropriate fixer-upper men approached you. Either one or both.
No age-appropriate fixer-upper men approached me. A couple of women said they had friends and they were definitely going to get me hooked up, but sadly, that did not happen.
We're going to have to follow up. They need to get on there.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm kidding. I'll be there next week. We'll just see what happens.
All right, cool.
Contact lenses in.
Ready to go.
Ready to go.
All right.
Fresh shirt. Ready to go. I was the first.
Yeah.
And I wish people would stick around and hear all of the speakers. And so it was hard because a lot of people, as they were leaving early, so they didn't stick around to vote and they didn't stick around to talk to everybody. They left a little early. But as they were leaving, they stopped and thanked me and told me that they enjoyed my story or that it touched them, that it moved them, that they were really grateful that they know about Eric now and that they know about me. And that was great. But I will say that at the end of it, it made me sad because very shortly after that, I had to get on a plane and go back to New Mexico. So I felt like I got to be a part of this amazing community experience, and then I had to leave.
Ah.
So I would be excited to participate in other things around the city and not have to leave, so that I can just continue to know the people that I met.
Well, I'll tell you what. One of the things that we talk about Mission Story Slam is this really is a community. And so why don't we do this? What is the best way for our community to find you or reach out to you?
Well, I always recommend they start with my OnlyFans page.
Okay, the link will be in the pod description.
I mean, I feel like, why make the first conversation free? Really, just go ahead and start monetizing it right
away. Yeah.
I'm a gentleman of a certain generation, so I'm on Facebook.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. I'm Deian McBryde on Twitter, X.
So it's just at Deian McBryde?
Yep.
So do me a favor, spell it.
It spells just like it sounds. Let's see. It's D as in David. EIANMCBRYDE.
The Deian probably confuses a lot of people, but the McBryde, I wouldn't have expected the Y, but I'm glad it's there.
So. Well, and if people put that into the Googles, you can also you'll find my firm's website. You can send an email. You can reach out, say hello. Keep it clean, people. Keep it clean.
You're the one who started with OnlyFans, my friend. That's on you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is true.
I have no idea what the case is, but is there anything going on in your world that you would want to, besides the firm and the OnlyFans page, that you'd like to promote?
I think what I would really say to anybody who's listening is to look around your life and see if there's somebody who's new, who could use a cup of coffee, could use a conversation, and ask them. Everyone gets busy. You all have primary attachments. You're worried about your kids. You're worried about your job. You're worried about your stuff. But your friends need you. They need nurturing. And there are probably new people in your community who feel very lonesome, especially during the holidays. And find them, ask them to do things, include them, make them a part of the community. This will be controversial, but kids can go to soccer practice without you watching them at soccer practice. You can get a cup of coffee with a friend while your child learns how to do something without you. You can have lunch without your husband or wife or partner having to be there. You can go to the museum with somebody. You can experience the world and experience culture. I want to give everyone who's wrapped up in their own stuff permission to step out and have an adventure with someone.
I love it. I will say, while you were talking, I was a little distracted by the elephant in the room. What is that sound? Is there an elephant in your room? What was going on? Did you hear that banging?
Oh, well.
Did you have a hippo living upstairs?
No, but it is a condominium.
Yep.
And so
things happen. It was very boomy. It was just interesting. I'm like, what is going on?
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Oh.
I think they're dragging something across the ceiling now.
Hopefully it's not bodies.
If somebody's collecting bodies, I wish they would ask me for names first. That's what I would say.
And this has been an absolute riot. I know that I will make sure to continue to invite you into our community, and I hope a lot of our friends from Mission Story Slam will do that as well. You are endlessly fascinating no matter what you say, and I really enjoyed having you on today's episode.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to be asked.
I hope that everybody here found today's episode as inspiring and motivating as I did, and will be saying yes to a number of opportunities. And I also hope you'll take inspiration from Carrie and invite some friends to come to the slam, maybe even tell a story, especially if they are born storytellers like Deian. So, by the time you're hearing this episode, we will have just had Mission Story Slam 13, and I will be busy interviewing those winners. But as pod listeners, I'll let you in a little secret. We are aiming for June 2nd of 2026 for Mission Story Slam 14. Don't have a theme yet. Feel free to send me some ideas. info@pwpvideo is a good way to reach us. But consider this your save the date, a good 6 months in advance, June 2nd. Until then, I know you'll be listening to this podcast because you are one of our super fans, or as we like to call you, missionaries. So please keep doing what you do best, which is spreading the word about our community. You can direct people to our website, missionstoryslam.org, or have them follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram. And reach out anytime. Tell us what we're doing well, or tell us what we could be doing better. We really count on our community to give us the straight story. This Straight Story, the Mission Story Slam podcast, is produced by Dave Winston, and it's edited by James Robinson. The pod is produced and brought to you by PWP Video. We are Video with a Mission. Find us at pwpvideo.com. Till our next episode, I'm quite confident that I shall remain Michael Schweisheimer, and I really do look forward to sharing the next story behind the story with you soon.